This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Anahita TV. I'm so excited about today's guest. She's a doctor, she's an entrepreneur, she has a list of all her accomplishments that we're going to talk about soon. And I just wanted to also welcome you, my viewers. Over 72% of you are non-subscribers on my YouTube channel. You can reach me here at k4hd.com radio, as well as TV, as well as my YouTube channel, Anahita TV, and on my Facebook handle. And I just want to welcome you and ask you for this channel to get recognized, to please subscribe, like, and leave comments and interact with us. We'd love to have you, and we'd love to continue this relationship. So please help me welcome Dr. Chantal Lunder. She is a skin health specialist. She is an entrepreneur, and she's gonna tell us a little bit about herself, about her specialty, because she has an amazing story. I met her last month at the Women in Business at the Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce, and she was our special speaker. I was so excited about her story, and I wanted her to share it with my viewers, especially with my female viewer entrepreneurs. She has a lot of goodies for us, and she can help you. She has, I'll let you give us a little introduction about your background, of how you became a doctor and what your specialty is.
Hi. Okay, I will. Thanks for having me, Anahita. We connected a few weeks ago at the Chamber. A great place to meet other entrepreneurs. It's nice to have those communities. So I'm a board certified physician. I started out in family medicine, and I opened a medical spa in 2018, and I did it basically with very little overhead. I did Botox parties, and I did not have a clinic. I did everything concierge. And soon I would have tons of patients. I opened a physical location, and then I started to supervise, because in California, you need to have a doctor supervising your spa. No one except a doctor can own a medical practice. So the way that these nurses and non-doctors do that is they work with a medical director. And so I started to do that as a way of helping nurses be safer, run their businesses. And then people just started to come to me to ask me, hey, how did you open your spa? How did you grow clients? How did you start supervising? And then I started to do consulting. And then we also launched an institute where we train nurses and we teach them on lasers, skincare ingredients, and just the opportunities have flowed since then. So as you were saying, there's a lot of things I do. Also throwing a health summit around women's hormonal health. And I'm also a wellness editor for Lip Gloss and Aftershave, which is an international publication around spa management, spa services. So lots of amazing fun things also coming down the pipeline.
Wow, that's amazing. I am a total spa girl, so I'm going to have to ask you about recommendations for sure. I love spas. I love massage. I love
all of the best
treatments. They are like, I'm a go-go person like you are. I'm involved in a few different things. And so how I rejuvenate, how I come back to life is actually through massage and spa treatments.
Totally.
So much. I'm so glad you're into that, because you are very successful. I'm sure your hand and touch in that environment makes it even better.
Well, I don't touch anyone, not anymore.
No, I mean the touch in the business.
Yeah.
The business aspect.
Well, yeah. I think you have to really love the industry. And I will say that there's a ton of doctors that come to me and they're like, I want to open a spa because I want a retirement plan, or I want a side hustle. I'm like, okay, but it is a lot of work. It's not easy. And when you really love something like the spa industry, you can talk about it for hours. You can meet people and share a love of it. And I think that's what really drew me from family medicine into medical aesthetics, because I went into becoming a doctor in family medicine because I wanted to talk about family dynamics. I want to talk about therapy, how to communicate better, how to have mom eat healthier to help her kids. And the state of primary care today is just not the way that I thought being a doctor was going to be. So for me, going into medical aesthetics, it was about me loving Botox, loving filler, loving going to the spa ever since I was a kid. Like that was something my mom and I would always do. So it was easy to go into the industry and just soak it up and want to learn. So I'd say definitely if you're starting a business, go with something you really are passionate about, because you're going to be doing it on the evenings and weekends, especially when you get started. So you really have to love it.
That's so true. Like you're kind of doing it as a secondary form of business before you can submerge yourself, because you got to pay the bills. You got to have a 9-to-5 job.
Yes, yes. And I think a lot of people start their businesses sort of as a quote unquote side hustle, or maybe they try to monetize one of their hobbies. So I think this is a good way to enter the industry and see if it's something that you even like. So that's why I always advocate for doing so with low overhead in the first couple years, because I've seen people open medical spas and drop $200,000, $300,000, and they weren't established in the field yet. So people weren't coming to them quite yet. So if you've been in the industry for a long time and you have the patients that will follow you once you open, sure, go in on it, double down. But if you're just getting into the industry or you're starting something new, you don't need to get a huge storefront and a bunch of employees. So that's kind of one of my biggest tenets of what I talk about in my articles and my courses is how do we test the market first with anything?
That's what I liked about your story, because one of the things I also read in the article about, I'm an entrepreneurial minded person, but a lot of times I'm hesitant because I think, oh, if I need to do this, you need money. If I need to do that. But then what I liked about your story, you said you started your business with a couple $1,000s. You didn't even need a loan. Like, I mean, everybody can manage a couple $1,000s to start a business.
Exactly. You don't need to front a bunch of cash. If you're starting a skincare line, maybe the way that things are right now, starting a skincare line is very expensive. But for certain industries, if you really want to grow, especially service-based industries, coaching, advising, planning, your crafts, or a simple product, there's just so many things you can do online nowadays. And that's part of the fun of being an entrepreneur. Like I say, constraints breed creativity. So if you have a budget of $5,000 and you want to sell a certain number of units, or you want to get them in front of certain customers like moms, athletes, how can you do that resourcefully within your budget? And that's really the creativity that comes with being an entrepreneur.
I love that. That's, it's amazing. Tell us about your story, how you started with just such a little small amount, and now you scaled, and now you manage over 15 nurses and spas.
Mm-hmm.
You help other entrepreneurs besides having your own care facility in Orange County. Is that correct?
Yes, in South Orange County. And we're about to scale even more, which we're not official yet, but it's going to scale more. And the way that I started, I would love to share with you the way that I started, because I think at the time I had no idea that I was what I was doing. And I look back, and those first few years were just my time of exploring. So I'll take you back to 2018. I graduated from residency. And if you have a loved one or know anyone in the medical industry who's a doctor, residency is like rock bottom in your life. Like you're working so much, you have no social life, your own health is non-existent, you're chronically sleep deprived. So anyways, I graduated and I took a few jobs around San Francisco, worked for Kaiser. Sorry, you can hear my dog. I worked for Kaiser and Department of Public Health and doing kind of like, okay, this is like what being a doctor is, right? And I guess I just wanted something more. I was like, I'm young. I just graduated. The world is my oyster. I don't really want to sign a huge contract with a signing bonus like all my colleagues were doing. For me, it was more about let me just kind of try a little bit of everything. And I was on vacation and I thought, what do I really, really, really want to do? And I was like, I kind of want to learn how to do Botox. I kind of want to like inject women in their homes and just throw parties. I love going to events. I love a good party. I love hosting. So it was just an idea that kind of came to me when I was in a relaxed state, which I think a lot of us get ideas when our nervous system is finally able to regulate a little bit. Yeah. So I think I spent maybe 10 to 15 grand to even just start this. And it was fueled by, I just worked a couple extra shifts as a doctor, and I was able to take out malpractice. I took out a business license, bought product, and a training. And then I said, hey, to my coworkers, do you want to do Botox? And I thought no one would come to me. I was like, they're not going to trust me. But you'd be surprised. A lot of times your circle, your sphere of influence is pretty supportive. Or they're like, can I get a discount? Yes, I'd love to do it. I trust you. And I'd say, honestly, my coworkers were more supportive than like my friends and family. And I say this a lot with new entrepreneurs. It does take your friends and family sometimes a little bit of time to come around
yes,
to your business. And sometimes they want to see results and to know that it's like a thing and you're not just like a fleeting hobby. So if you're in that position, totally normal. I had like family making fun of me for like years until they were like,
oh my God,
this is like an actual thing. Yeah. And a lot of them were like, ew, Botox filler. Back then it was like way more stigmatized.
Right.
And now of course they get all the things. So, but really it was my coworkers who were like lining up to get treatments with me. And so I'd say tap into the areas that you've already built up trust. So a lot of nurses come to me and they're like, I want to open in this like fancy area in my, county. And I'm like, well, where do your kids go to school? Where do you get your hair done? Where's your dentist? And they're like, oh, in my, this town over here. And I'm like, do you think that there's enough people in that area who want to get cosmetics? Like if you look at the average income and all of that, and they're like, yeah, I'm like, open there. Cause that's where your network is.
Yeah. Then when you run into people, you're at the grocery store, you're at yoga class, you can let them know, it comes up naturally in conversation. What do you do? Everybody always, when they meet you, they want to know what you do,
Exactly. And what are the things that you mostly talk about with like your mom friends or your girlfriends? Hey, I need a new hairdresser. Who should I go to? Like you automatically ask your circle of other women generally for doctors, for hairstylists, for facial, aestheticians. Like I know me personally, I look on Yelp and Google, but if my friend tells me I've been there, I trust them, automatically I am going to go there.
Definitely. Like that's a personal, recommendation is always better than looking on Google or Yelp. That's like the last resource. If, everybody says, no, not really, I don't know anyone, then yes, you go to Google or Yelp. So thank you so much for explaining where you came from and what you did. So tell us which spas do you recommend, or for women's health? You kind of touched upon women's health, because I'm really concerned about mothers and children and the state of the food industry, because myself, I'm very allergic to a lot of different things. The older I get, the more allergic items become more allergic, especially wheat, gluten, those kind of things. And then I found out it's not that we are allergic to gluten. We are allergic to the chemicals that are in gluten, glyphosate. I found out that, bread, because it's spongy, it has the most glyphosate. And that's the one that, the human body cannot tolerate a lot of it. So that's why a lot of us are getting sick. And some things are forever chemicals. I don't like to think about forever chemicals. Are there any products out there that you recommend, or any natural items that you recommend, different teas or different things that you recommend for us to get rid of these chemicals that are accumulating in our bodies?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I think we're always in search of a good detox. I don't know that there's ever really something that's been proven that can detox. I know that there's some evidence for fasting at certain times. I wouldn't recommend fasting regularly because it does spike your glucose and inflammation. So I wouldn't do it like, some people do it every day. They do their intermittent fasting.
Right.
But
you don't recommend that?
I personally don't.
I'd like to hear about that, because I know that fasting is very popular among my friends, and whenever we talk, they always talk about intermittent fasting. The thing is, with myself, I'm not a breakfast person, but sometimes I crave breakfast and I want to eat breakfast, and I do when I crave it, but if I'm not hungry, I don't force myself. I'll just make a celery, carrot, apple juice. I love that juice combo when I don't eat breakfast, but then I'll eat lunch at 11. But I don't believe in that, like you said, the long term, because I feel my body getting weaker if I do it 5 days in a row or 6 days in a row.
I think fasting does work to detox you, because what it does is it clears out cells that are reproducing too fast. It clears out cells that are maybe not going to be noticed by the immune system. But doing it too regularly is very stressful on your body. So I think pay attention to kind of how you're feeling when you're doing intermittent fasting. So maybe every few months, or working with a nutritionist that can kind of customize based on your symptoms, based on your lifestyle, because it's definitely not a one size fits all, especially around nutrition. So I'd highly recommend working with a really good holistic nutritionist and knowing the frequency and how to do fasting to make it really kind of healthier for you. Because if you're doing it too much, what you're doing to your body when you don't eat for that long is you're spiking inflammation. And then we know inflammation drives a lot of diseases that we see in women, aging, hormone imbalance, cortisol, all of the things that we are trying to prevent.
Okay, so consistent fasting is not recommended.
I would not. I don't think that that's recommended.
Everybody, you heard it here first with Dr. Chantal. The next time your tells you to do a 40-day water fast, come on.
Oh my gosh. No, that is not. Have you seen that show called Limitless on National Geographic?
I have, yeah.
I really like that one. I think they explain fasting and inflammation, and I think they explain longevity really well, like the core tenets of longevity. And I think in medicine, the way that we're taught to look at people is we are diagnosing problems. Like, we got to look for cancer, we have to look for high cholesterol. But I love this framework that's kind of shifting towards how do we live longer, better, based on the habits that we have right now, even if we don't have disease. Like, you go to your family doctor and they're like, you're fine. And you're like, but like, what else can I be doing? And I think a lot of it, like you were saying, comes down to avoiding toxins, avoiding additives, chemicals, products, unnecessary products in your beauty regimen.
Do you recommend any beauty products that are clean? Because I've been doing that. I've been buying a couple of different products from Sephora that are marked clean. I reduced the number of products I use.
Good. So good.
2 items, and 1 powder, 1 blush, and 1 eyeshadow.
Yes. The clean girl aesthetic is also good for you.
And my friends make fun of me. They're like, you have no makeup on. I'm like, I know I have makeup on. Because I don't want to overboard, and because I know at the end of the day it gets absorbed into your skin,
Yes, it
and
does.
it causes harm. And I'm vain. I want to live forever, and I want to look cute forever.
There's a balance. Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
the whole clean movement, it also has a lot of voices in it saying, the stuff at Sephora, a lot of green advocates will say that it's greenwashed, that there's not enough chemicals taken out of it. And so I think what you have to keep in mind is that any beauty product is not 100% clean.
Yes.
It's never going to be clean, because in order to package that and put it in a case to sit on the shelf at Sephora and not go bad and not create bacteria that you're then going to put on your face, you have to put some preservatives in it.
Right.
And so when you buy clean products, you're going to notice the expiration is like 6 months, a year. And I don't know about you, but I have been using some of the lipsticks from college, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to throw this out.
I gotta throw that out. They smell like oil after
Yes.
a while. Oily.
Yeah.
I did that. I did it.
I've done that before I was
a lot of stuff.
Before I was like more into my wellness journey and like knew about these things, I was like wearing it as a badge of honor. Like, I've had this color since college.
Oh no.
The things you do when you are young.
Chili by Mac. Everybody had that back in the day.
Yes. I honestly still had my naked palette up until like Instagram was making fun of it.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you saw those reels.
I didn't see it, but that's funny.
Yeah. So definitely pay attention to the expiration dates of your products, because once those chemicals actually start to break down, it could be very harmful to you in terms of carcinogenic and bad for your skin. So follow those, dates. Usually they'll have like a 6M or 12M, and it'll be like 6 months from 12 months.
Very good.
Exactly. But there's no clean, 100% clean. But I do think it's kind of like, we can't we just try to mitigate our risk. So I like to look at items that are EWG certified. Those are.
What does that stand for, EWP?
It's environmental something group.
Wellness group.
Working group. I'm not sure, but it's basically
the EU. Never mind. EWP. That's enough.
The EU. Which the EU stands for European Union.
Oh, okay.
They are much more strict with what can go in your beauty products. So I don't know if you've ever noticed, like, when you go to Europe and you get sunscreen, you're like, wow, this sunscreen is great. Like,
it feels good. Or
it feels so good. Deodorant.
All of it is so much better.
Honestly. And I'm like, before I kind of knew about this, I would go and I'm like, is it just because I'm on vacation? Everything just seems like it's better here, like the water, the sunscreen, the food. No, it literally is better.
It is better.
There. So the EWG kind of takes these standards into account and holds the whole world and all the beauty products to that standard. So like one of my favorite perfumes, they're EWG certified. They're Rosie and Ernest. They're based out of Montreal. They are EWG certified because fragrance is one of the leading causes of hormone imbalance. So if there's one thing that you can do to improve your hormone balance, is look for fragrance-free products for beauty, for like synthetic fragrance.
I see. I was actually recently in Italy, and I was delayed with my plane, so I had to buy everything. Was packed. I had to buy. Huh?
You had to buy everything new, right?
Yes, I had to buy deodorant because I missed my flight, and I ended up having to sit in London Heathrow for like 6 extra hours. So I went, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go buy a deodorant. I bought one Nivea. Nivea has been around forever, and this was liquid. It was only $3 or €3, I would say. It was so cheap, and I was like, I should stock up on this. And it was so light, and it was so good, and exactly like what you said. I wish we had that product. We don't have it here. The Nivea, it came in a glass jar, and it was liquid. I've never seen anything like it. It was a white liquid, and the ingredients were very limited. And one of the things I've also noticed, this is becoming very girly talk. One of the things I noticed
My favorite
is that most makeup companies, they don't have good eyeliner anymore. Have you noticed that? The eyeliners, those are gone. It used to be made in Germany, all of them, 100% of them, and they were really good. Now, I don't know where they make them. I believe they're made in China or some Indonesia or something like that, and they're no longer long-lasting. So one of the purposes when I went to Italy was I'm going to a pharmacy and I'm buying a bunch of eyeliners, and that's exactly the first city I arrived at. I bought a bunch of eyeliners and mascara because I knew they would be clean.
I love that. And did you find the type of eyeliner that you were looking for?
I didn't. I was in a very tiny little town, so they're very limited in terms of products. So, and then when I went to Rome, it was like 1 or 2 days. I was just going around seeing all the museums. So I didn't get to buy the
You
one.
were on the eyeliner tour.
Yeah. I bought some things. The other things turned out better. The lipsticks and
Italy's tough. I'd say Italy is better for like leather handbags, unless if you're, into leather, or fashion shoes.
Yeah. Shoes are better. Yeah.
Yeah. I think skincare, if you're in Europe, is like France.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because they have a lot of the formulators are they're all over the world, but in France, the formulations tend to be smaller batch, curated, cleaner. And even a lot of companies that are global, if they're formulated out of France, they're kind of higher quality, especially fragrance or makeup, skincare.
Good to know. So France is the place to go if you want skincare and makeup, right?
And if you're in Europe, yes, there's obviously places around the world that are like Korea. We're leaving out Korea for skincare.
Korea is good.
Yes.
I do buy, when I go to Canada, my family's in Canada, there's a lot of Korean stores, and I do buy some of their products. They have really amazing skincare.
Yes, they do. And actually, a lot of it's going to be coming to the US in the next 6 months because they are getting approvals for their neurotoxins, their fillers, their salmon DNA, all of their kind of proprietary Korean ingredients are going to be flooding the US market. They've already been widespread usage approved in Korea for over 10 years. And finally, they're coming to the US. So it'll really change the whole landscape of the beauty industry, I think.
I'm so excited to hear that because I was giving up. I feel like back in the 90s or the 80s, I had more access to all these things, but I feel like the quality has gone down, even the, very famous or popular brands.
Oh my God. Absolutely.
I don't see the same quality that I saw 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
And you're absolutely right.
The Korean you're talking about, are they sending us the raw materials to curate our own makeup, or are they sending already made, like you said, fillers and things like that? Or what?
The actual companies, and Regeron being one of the major ones that already is one of the biggest suppliers in Korea, is now entering the US market. So the same company is now setting up in other countries and getting approval, like with the FDA, basically.
Oh, perfect. Because one of the things that I'm passionate about is having my own line of products. And I've been in love with this idea since I was 20. And I did it twice already. I did it once when I was in my 20s in Dallas, when I lived there. There's a huge, there's a lot of raw materials over there if you want to make your own product line. And I did. I had one of the first almond butter scrubs.
Oh, amazing.
I had that, and I used to. And I named my company Pink before Pink became a thing with
Victoria's
Secret. Yes, and I didn't continue it 2 years later, everybody made fun of me. They're like, why would you name a color for your company? This is so stupid, you know? Like you said, my family, everybody made fun of me. Everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, you studied psychology. What are you doing making makeup? And why are you calling it pink? It's stupid. It's a color, you know? And then 2 years later, one of my cousins called me and said, have you seen pink? I'm like, what do you mean? Have I seen pink? The store in right next to Victoria's Secret. They have
But
the
they
brand.
stole my name.
Yeah, if I had patented, I would have, you know, biggest
Does
lawsuit.
anyone own the color pink though? Like, is
We
Victoria's
can't own the
Secret,
color pink.
are they trademarked?
Okay, so I spoke to a trademark attorney. Trademark attorney told me the only way you can trademark something like that is when you become a brand. Kind of like Victoria's Secret was a brand, and when they did pink, that's already really famous. If I had done it and I had established myself in Texas, yes, then I would do. But I wasn't established. I stopped.
Okay.
Like a year after I had stopped, that they, yeah. So you can't, yeah. Only if you're established and you trademarked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to come back to that idea of people not really understanding what you're doing at first.
Right.
Because I was mentioning how all of my classmates, they sign these big contracts. And when you're a resident, you are essentially making less than minimum wage after you calculate it. So it was kind of crazy to not sign these big contracts. And it was me driving around on evenings and weekends with my little Botox bag. Like, I got an actual makeup artist bag that has like wheels and stuff. And I put my medical supplies, and that was essentially my little office that I would drive around. And I would get Airbnbs and host parties where people would get their Botox and filler. And then I would basically have a little route that I would go regularly that women would get it, and then they'd bring their friends. And then it just grew and grew and grew that way. So it's always crazy when you're starting because the vision hasn't like completely taken form yet. And so if there's anyone who is listening, who's like, you know, maybe your family isn't the most supportive, maybe your friends are not the most supportive, like, you can find other people that are going to be very supportive. And like, some of my very first clients are still some of my best supporters. They literally send me clients all the time. They repost things that I'm doing. So, and it really does shake up your social circle. Like, I had to not get rid of friends, but I had to make a lot of new ones that kind of pushed me.
Right.
I don't know if you relate to
that
that.
in your life.
Yes, I want to be the dumbest person in the room.
You know what? That's what my dad would always tell me when we were growing up. He said, don't always be the teacher in or among your friends. Try to be the student. Yeah, just like what you said, be learning all the time. Instead of teaching everybody everything, you should be learning and scaling.
Yes, actively seek circles that you are like, whoa, well, I'm so impressed. Like, these people are so. And then networks. Oh my gosh, I can't even describe the power of networks. That I really wanted to break into the event space, and I really wanted to grow myself as a speaker, as an expert. And I just observed, how can I do this without paying a bunch of money to like be a speaker? Because you can do that. You can go to these big organizations and say, can I pay $50,000 and speak and show my product? Yes, you can do it that way. But if you go to events consistently and people recognize you and you just show up all the time, people are eventually going to be like, oh, why weren't you at this one gala? Everyone was there. Because you just become part of the crowd that goes to those things. And then once you're there, people invite you to other things. And then once you talk about your business and you talk about what you're doing, eventually people kind of ask you like, oh, would you mind presenting this? Or would you mind giving a talk on this? And it goes hand in hand with showing up online, giving your opinions, giving your thoughts, picking your niche that you really want to talk about, offering a course or offering something that you're teaching people about that thing. even if it's nothing super specialized. Maybe it's just a tool or experience that you had that you want to share and talk about. So networking is amazing, and also going consistently, like not just doing it twice a year, but doing it at least every quarter.
Yeah, I love networking. One of the reasons I joined the chamber, I joined West Hollywood Chamber a couple of years ago, and then Beverly Hills Chamber 2 years ago. And I love the network of people we have there. Like you said, just a bunch of amazing entrepreneurs, wonderful friends, and they're like that. If I don't go to an event, they wonder, where were you? Why didn't you?
Yes.
And one of the things that I love to do, I love to connect people. I love networking. So when we started WBN, I talked to a restaurant, and it was a friend who owned this Italian restaurant. And I said, I knew drinks are always expensive. I said, could you do 2 special drinks where all these ladies, I'm going to bring 40, 50 ladies, and they're going to drink, but they're usually drinks in Beverly Hills are $20. Can you give me a discount? And he said, yeah, $12. And that was amazing.
Oh, all you had to do was ask.
Yeah. And he said, what do you want in return? I said, nothing. Just put the discount towards my friends. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this for the girls. Just make sure, and then he was so cute. They made little placards of 2 different drinks they could order,
Aww.
Yeah. And they were $12 the rest of the evening. And then I think he gave them 25% off the whole menu for that hour that we were there, for the 2 hours that we were there. So, that's another way I feel like people can get to be known, do something nice for your network, get them together and do something that's not about you. I didn't do it for me. I didn't sell any products. And that I think causes people to trust you because you're doing something selfless. I went on my own time off to do this. So that's another way that entrepreneurs can take advantage. A lot of times you don't need a lot of money to make a couple of calls. It's just time and creativity. Just be your creative self.
Oh my gosh, creativity is everything. Creativity isn't just painting. It's coming up with solutions and asking. I think I just remember being in high school and always asking, like my parents never would get those little fundraiser things and ask people to buy C's candy. They would send me out and they would say, here's a room full of adults. You carry around this magazine. And when you come back, you better have sold out. That's how I was raised.
That's child abuse. I'm kidding.
So good. No, it was so good. He was like, you can't just ask people for money. Like you need to propose something. Like you need to sell this. And I love that because sales is everything. Sales is like how you get your money back, and how, like when you've been cheated, sales is how you ask for your dry cleaning to be done overnight because you really need it. You're always kind of selling something. So I think when people ask me, how do you get these brands to pay for this event for you? How do you get these brands to give you product for your nurses? I say, because I know that we're really valuable. I know that when you bring a group of women together who own businesses, everyone wants to get in front of those women. So if you go to a restaurant and you say, hey, we will post your, featured menu item and we'll bring in, lots of traffic for the next few hours. Can you give us a discount? You are offering an exchange of value and you're not asking for a handout. You're selling.
Yeah. So true. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
I started sales when I was really young. So I agree with you. Everything is sales. I was really shy. And one of the things, we moved to Canada when I was a little girl from Iran, and I was, I think, 12 or so. And one of the things my parents did, they put me in community theater because
it's great.
Yeah. And they were like, yeah, you're too shy. And my uncle and my aunt, they were younger. So they had beautiful singing voices. And I was just a shy, skinny kid, tall, skinny girl, fresh off the boat. And so, they took me in and I had no idea I had so much talent. As soon as I had one line in a show, but then the show was broken up with 5 different dances. And then so one of the dance companies, one of the dance events didn't have an extra person. They asked me to join because it was really tall. At that age, I looked like an adult. So I joined and I learned that dance. The other choreographers saw how good I danced, and I had no idea I was a good dancer. Then they hired me, they took me in, and by the time the show was ready, I was in four out of 5 dances, and it was complete changes and complete new steps. I learned Turkish. I learned like all the traditional Persian dances. Yeah,
A Star is Born.
Yeah, and that brought me to life. Yeah.
Okay, do you think there's such a thing as shy people? Like, do you think shyness is real?
I kind of don't, because
I
was shy on the outside, but internally I was extrovert. I really wanted to get out there, and I was so happy when someone nudged me. I did get out there. So what's your theory? I'd like to hear it.
Because I used to be shy too, and it was really being pushed. And really, I think the major points that I got over my shyness was being a senior resident as a doctor and overseeing the team when you're like a third year. And I had all these like, oh, but what if they say this? And what if they say no to me? And what if they say, and at that point, it wasn't about me, it was about my patient. It was like, okay, the team, the specialist team doesn't want to do this procedure, but they really need it. I think, basically advocating for them. So I had to just get over myself and be like, hey, this is what I think you should, this is what I think, I'm standing my ground. So that was a really big turning point, I think, in my life. And then the second time was when I was an entrepreneur, and I would say yes to so many people, like discounts and all these other things, doing things for free. And it's because I'm so, heart-centered. I never want to say no to someone who can't afford it, but then I couldn't cover my bills. Right. So then after a while I got kind of mad, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this for free or for the sake of, for fun. Like, I need to pay my bills and I have financial goals. So that was really, really helpful. And I just think when you feel, of course, we're all going to feel shy. We're all going to feel insecure. It never goes away. We're all little kids inside sometimes. But I think putting yourself in situations where you can't give into that. You have to, it's like do or die, like traveling by yourself, taking a job that you don't really know what you're doing, but you want to learn, asking for like a mentor, like all these things, you just got to do it.
Right. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I have a friend that I went to these networking events and I met. He's a scientist. I don't know what he is. Naveen Jain. He's really famous, I guess, on YouTube and whatnot. He's involved with the sciences and the moonshot group. Anyway, so one of the things I learned from him was exactly that. One of the things he tells entrepreneurs to do, he says, if, let's say, like you are in skin health, if you're a skin health doctor and you want someone to manage your office, hire someone from a completely different field. Like, I don't know, someone who's an amazing manager, but in the technical field. Because they're going to do something out of the box, out of the ordinary. They're still going to be great managers. And he says, because it's going to be so new and so different from what they know management, but they don't know skin health. They're going to have to bring their A game. And that nervous energy creates that creativity that you need to get better.
I see. I do think it's valuable to have someone who has experience in, like, for me, I feel like beauty is kind of niche, and and like when I hire, if someone doesn't have a love for beauty, it's pretty hard for them to like get it. But I do see what you're saying about a beginner's mind. Like, I always say to new entrepreneurs, I'm like,
this is for
you have an advantage. Like, you have an advantage if you're a newcomer. And I think a lot of people feel intimidated by entering a new industry or field or starting a new venture. And you really need to embrace the fact that you are seeing things differently. you're seeing the holes, you're seeing the areas that can be improved upon, which is a skill, which is like a valuable asset.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. This is so I'm so excited to have you. Like, I didn't think our talk was gonna, go this way. I thought we were gonna talk about Botox, skincare, but we talked about everything: business, girly talk, eyeliner, that matter.
It's, I mean, I think every day I wake up and I'm like, I can't believe this is what I get to do, is talk about girly things, but in like a very serious, scientific and business way. And I think women are changing the way that we run businesses and create empires. We don't need to create a toxic culture or be so serious and think that we have to separate our true selves from our business side. We can do both.
One of the things I liked about your talk when you spoke with us at the WBN was about integrity. And you said you don't work with anyone unless they have integrity in business. Tell us a little more about that.
Yes. Well, I am a recovering people pleaser. Always the young girl that was just trying to fit in. And I think more of this I always had a very independent spirit, but I think it took a while to kind of stand in that and be okay. So as I've grown my business, I think, well, coming from being in healthcare, I think healthcare is kind of a little bit of a bubble where we are very patient focused. And, some of that sharky business stuff that I've heard about, I don't feel like I experienced that in medicine. It's very hierarchical, but at the end of the day, you're really just trying to do your best. You're trying to outdo yourself. You're in a constant battle with yourself. There's martyrdom. There's a lot of things that go on, but at the end of the day, I always felt like it was about the patient. And so when I got into the business world and I saw people that were like, didn't give, I'm sorry, but a rat's ass about anyone else and just the bottom line. And then also they would pretend very well that they were about a mission or about community. And I was like, oh, this is great. I love this.
You believe them.
I believe them.
Right.
Because I want to think the best of people. I can be naive, I think. And so
you and I are so much alike because I'm that I don't lie. I always assume nobody lies.
Yes. And I think if you have the best intentions, you kind of assume that other people do too. And I think that's like, I love being open-hearted, and I look for people who are very open-hearted.
I love that about you. That's how I am. I'm like, I'm not going to let a bunch of, rude, mean people change me. I want to stay open-hearted.
Yes. And the more we have the courage to do that, the more we make it okay for other people
to do it too.
That. So
drop their guard.
Yeah, just drop your guard. Like, have boundaries, but be open-hearted. So after I've dealt with some not so great business people, I was left feeling really icky. Like, I don't want to bring them in to meet my nurses. I don't want to bring them in to meet my network, because I vouch for my network so deeply that if I'm bringing you in and I'm recommending you and I'm exposing my contacts, my network to you, it's very valuable. And my time being available to you, texting with you, just having you in my circle and sphere in general, you need to treat that as your sacred space, and even in business. So just be very choosy. Like, if you meet someone, you vibe, slowly get to know them. If they want to work with you, give them little gates to pass. So give them a gate of, how do they show up? Are they showing up on time? Are they consistent? Are they reliable? And if they do that for a period of time, then, okay, I'll let you meet some of people in my network. I will introduce you. I will refer you if I've worked with you and I like you. So make sure that you observe them and their level of integrity. Sometimes you can't observe this until you actually work together. And you just have to take risks. You have to work with new people. You have to work with new vendors. You have to work with new brands. And you'll find out if there's someone that you want to continue doing business with.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you so much. Oh my God, this has been so informative. I'm so happy that we did this.
Me too.
You're such a great guest. I'm sure I'll have you back on.
Oh, well, thank you. I'd love to
You're
support you.
plethora of information on many different diverse things, and especially, girly talk. And I wanted to say one fact. We're out of time, but I'm going to say one fact before we go. Actually, did you know that the taxes, number one product that taxes come from, do you know what that is?
Is it skincare?
Yes, beauty products. More than oil and gas. More than gas. That's number two. This is why I knew this fact when I was 22 years old. And that's why I wanted to have my own skin health and product line. And I have something right now that I'm working on. I have more of a essential oil blends. And I make for headaches. I make for backaches. I have my own clients that I make those for. I don't really share it online, but I'm going to start to, because a lot of people love it. And once people use it, they use it forever. And then I have body oil for anti-aging, because a lot of people just focus on their face. What if like you're 65, your face looks great and your arm skin is hanging? So I make a very affordable body oil that is for anti-aging. So I have these different products that I've been experimenting with on myself. And so
well, I'd love to try that
because of that one fact. I was like, I can get a quarter or some part of it, 0.03%. I'll be fine.
Well, beauty and wellness is just an exploding industry with the aging population, and also our attention to health, our disillusionment with the healthcare system, and more information, more informed consumers. So it's just going to blow up with women leading the conversation. So if you want to learn more about what I do, you can go to my website, www.drchantallunderville.com. I have my courses on there, and I have consulting opportunities, speaking opportunities, and I would love to hear from you what you liked about this and anything else you want to know. So thank you so much for having me, Anahita.
You're so welcome. And thank you for that closing. You took the words right out of my mouth.
I forgot to mention. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So, well, have a great night. And where can I find this?
I will send everything to you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Anahita TV. And thank you, Dr. Lunderville. I know that this is not going to be our last conversations. So good night and have a blessed day.
Good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.